Hi guys! So I wanted to do a short video today about line. I think it's a fun thing to think about because we all think we know line, we know everything about it because that's the one that we use the most, right? I kind of have a love-hate relationship with line because it's the element of art that kids learn first, and that's the one that sometimes turns them off because they think that they are not an artist, right? And I think I talked about that before. You know, line is only one of the elements. There are many others. You can be good at many other elements, right? You can be good at color, you can be good at other things. So that being said, there are some things that we can look at. Because we know so well, we tend to get stuck. When we know something really, really well, we get stuck on the same way of doing something, right? Because that's how we do it, and that's how my hand works, and that's how I see lines. So you get stuck, we get used to doing it a certain way. And I want to show you guys a couple different things that you can start thinking about. And one of my favorite things to teach kids is to watch out for their line quality. So what is line quality? Let's take a look at this video and find out. In math, you're going to learn that line is the shortest distance between 2 points. Geometry uses line quite a bit to create different objects, right? But in art, we start looking at nature and you see that line has so many other characteristics. You can have curved lines and organic lines, right? Look at this leaf, how there's this line, and if you start looking at things in nature, you see also little dots and little things inside the sunflower. For instance, there's beautiful lines in there just created by seeds. You can also have line that is jagged and dark, right? And it goes from thick to thin. Or a nervous line created by a pen. You can also have curlicue line, very fine, detailed lines. And also, the objects that you place in your painting or drawing can create a line for the eye of the viewer. So I wanted to show you guys what is line quality. I'm going to start by doing a drawing here that I'm going to try my best to just use a line. I'm measuring quite a bit, so it's a little slow process, but I made it 8 times the speed, so it should go really fast. Now, if you notice, I'm keeping my line quality the same on the whole drawing. So what is line quality? Line quality is the variation between thick and thin that you can give as the artist to the lines that create your artwork. So in this beginning, I'm trying to keep everything kind of even, not have a lot of line quality. So it's going to be a very flat drawing. And what's going to happen? Let's take a look. Underneath my drawing, there is a skeleton. So I kind of made a quick, you can't see it because it's very light, but I made a quick little drawing of a circle. So I kind of know where to put my eyes and everything. I made the line in the middle of the face as well. But I'm always constantly measuring, readjusting, where things are. That hand on the left was very easy to do because there's so much to measure from. If you notice now, I kind of get lost of where the thumb is. Where does the thumb end, right? And it turned out to be a giant thumb, and I noticed that. So what I did then was I used my pencil to measure the angle between the side of the face to the thumb, and that's where I figured out where the end of the thumb actually was, and helped me shorten the thumb. So using the pencil to measure is a really good idea. I have a video about measuring and that I found on YouTube. It's not mine, but I have the link to it as well on the description. It's a very good video, and I think you guys should take a look at it. Cloth is really interesting. You really have to look at every element that forms the cloth, right? To be able to create the cloth realistically. For the second hand, there wasn't a lot to measure around it. So I used a different technique called the envelope technique. First, I drew the envelope of the hand. And then I found where the fingertips were. And from the fingertips, then I drew the fingers down. And that's something that you can use when you start to draw hands. It's probably the easiest method to draw a hand. You have to pay attention to the angles of the fingers. See right there, I had to readjust because that finger is super thick. And that is, you can kind of find out the angle of the finger also by using your pencil and figure out how the finger goes, right? So I'm finding some of the detail in the cloth, right? And now I can erase my envelope. One thing you notice is that it is very flat. It almost looks like her fingers going inside her mouth, right? So now I'm going to start darkening some areas. And whatever I darken, if you notice, I'm darkening the hand in a very specific way. So some areas are going to be darker as they go inside the sleeve, for instance, or as they come really forward. That's my choice, right? You can have the darker lines be the heavy lines. You can have the darker lines reflect where it's darker. But the main thing is whatever is darker in your painting will come forward usually. The darker lines will come forward in space. So just by darkening a little bit, look how that hand already separated from her face. In the end, I'm going to show you guys the final drawing so you can actually see how that makes a big difference. Putting a little bit more definition on the hair, just a little bit. This is just a sketch. I almost started putting shading there, see? Gotta be careful. I just wanted to make a line drawing. But it's hard not to make the eyeballs, right? So, it doesn't hurt. And this is the final result. You can see how the hands do look like they're coming forward, especially the one on the right. I'm very pleased with how the fingers are forward. And this here is another thing that you can do as well. If you notice on the right side, I made topographic lines on the fingers. And that's one way, like fruit and vegetables and things like that, they look great with topographic lines. That hand looks really interesting. I actually would like to see the whole child done with that. But then I changed to the nervous pen line on the left. And I think that that also creates a nice effect. And you can do the whole thing and use also the line itself to make a little bit of shading. So that's a little bit about line quality, and I hope you guys learned something and enjoyed this. And that's something for you guys to think about. How can I change my line quality to make my drawing more interesting or even more three-dimensional, or to add space to my drawing, right? So that was it for a basic introduction to line and a different way of thinking about it. Of course, you can mix shading after you have your line well defined, but isn't it neat to think about, if I have a mountain and I want it to recede in the background, I can make the very line that makes them out much lighter. Can also make something come towards me. Let's say you're drawing a river, you can make the line that makes the edge of that river go from thin to thick as it comes forward, right? So that variation in line can create distance, can create space in your painting, can create also variety for the eye. You can guide people using your line. Where do you want them to look? And objects in your painting can be also making lines. So it's a lot to think about. Line is actually very deceivingly complex. But yeah, this is a good intro, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. And now you can go grab a pencil and an eraser and create some artwork that considers these concepts. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I love you guys, miss you guys, and I see you soon. Bye.